Hey everybody, this is Helena, and I'm so excited to introduce Larry Michel, my good friend, to my community today. Welcome, Larry.
Hi, glad to be
Hi.
here. Excited to be
Yes,
here.
yes, this is actually something totally different than I've ever done here on my channel. So I am so excited to jump into this. For those of you who aren't familiar with Larry, he is a teacher, author, and coach, and the founder of the Institute of Genetic Energetics. How did I do with that? Hopefully I did okay. I was practicing that.
You did it.
Okay, awesome. So as we're waiting for some people to join, we're going to talk a little bit about exactly what that is. By the way, say hi. Let us know where you're watching from. We're so excited to connect with all of you. Hello to Kim and Lauren. Oh, it's Lauren's first live chat. So we're thrilled to have you here. For everyone watching, what you're going to want to do is click the link in the description. So close the live chat, click on the first link in the description of this video, and get your free personal energetic profile. It only takes a minute or two, and bring it, and then you'll get your results pretty quickly, and then we can talk about this. That'll be really helpful. Is there anything you want to say before we get started, Larry?
Oh my gosh, I just want to have fun, and I definitely, this is challenging times, and there is a lot of, oh my gosh, anxiety and anger and depression and happiness. There's a complete range of emotions going on for everybody, and so whatever we can do to help lighten that load is what I really would like to be our objective today.
I love that. And you guys are going to absolutely love Larry, and his energy is so calming and soothing. He just has the best vibe. We met last year at a mutual friend's birthday party, and we ended up talking for hours about this thing that you've been studying for decades, right? Genetic energetics. And I was fascinated and blown away. And you talked to me about my own personal energetic profile and basically everyone else who was there. And it was so accurate and spot on. I was like, I couldn't believe it. So let's talk a little bit about that. As everyone's going to click the link in the description, get your personal energetic profile. It just takes a minute, right? It's just a couple questions. And let's talk about this a little bit. How did you come to be such an expert in this?
Oh gosh. So, well, the genetic energetics, it actually wasn't even called that when it was first created. It was years ago called Match Matrix. And it was created almost well over 40 years ago now by a gentleman named Dick Nelson. He was an efficiency expert and a scientist. And Helena, he went through 4 divorces, and he figured, I'm not getting it. I certainly have not figured it out. And he was into all kinds of other sciences. He was into astrology and numerology and all kinds of personality assessment programs. And he was just looking for ways to figure out how he was going to find his perfect match. And so he created this thing and set out to really help people find that perfect, identical match energetically. And what he created was spectacular. Now, here I come 2.5 decades later, and he has passed away, and his partner is at an event where I was at, and I was going through a relationship breakup, I guess. Just like when I really wanted to work, but it wasn't working. Mm. And so I didn't want to talk to anybody. All of us know what it's like when our relationships are in the dump. Like, we don't want to talk to our best friends. We really don't want to talk to anybody. We suck at business. And so that's where I was at. And on the last day of this conference I was at, this guy gets up and says, I can tell you something about your relationship that no one else has been able to tell you. And I go, whoa, what? And sit down with him. And he asked me for the pieces of information everybody's giving when they're going and getting their reports right now. And I thought, this is astrology. This is, I've done that stuff. No. And he goes, no, just work with me here. So I gave him my information, and he comes back and tells me things about myself that were so potent, it literally changed the trajectory of my life. But more important, he also nailed everything that was going on in my relationship. And I thought, wow, this is very fascinating. So I asked, what are you doing with this? And he said, well, my partner passed away, and I'm not a marketer, and I'm looking for someone to help me. So I had been taking products to market. Now, I've been in psychology and consulting and coaching for decades. And I'd been taking some products to market, and he said, can you help me? And I went, well, I can, but all you asked me for was for 2 pieces of information, and you nailed me, but is it right all the time? And he goes, it really is. And I went, I need to prove it. It's got to be efficacious. I have to totally believe in it, or I cannot really support you. And he said, take your time, consult as many people as you want, interview as many people as you want, and see for yourself. I did that for 2 years, and I interviewed over 1,000 couples. And in that period of time, it was never wrong. I mean, like never wrong. It was weird. It was never wrong. And I thought, okay, this is great. I'm in. I want to get involved. But our first focus was matchmaking, right? We went into the kind of the matchmaking world. But what happened over the next year, year and a half after I did all those interviews is I started to get emails from people saying, thank you for saving our marriage. Thank you for restoring the relationship that has been distorted and we've been separated for 10 or 15 years with my mother or my father. Thank you for helping me with my children. And so when I started to get all these, I went, wow, this is a lot more than just matchmaking. This is truly at the core of how we relate to each other. Eventually, I bought the company because I wanted to take it out of just the matchmaking world and into the overall relationship world, whether it's with our children or it's our beloved's romance. I love the romance space. That's where I do most of my personal work, is with couples. But with children in the business, it's been amazing. And what's so like all this history hasn't told you what it is, though, right? So what it is in a nutshell is it is identifying the energetic frequencies that we vibrate at. And we all have them. We literally have energetics about us that don't change. We call it genetic energetics because they're like our blood type. They're hard coded. And no matter what the situation is, no matter who's in our life, we are still vibrating at that same frequency. Now, there are exceptions if someone's really sick or if someone's on drugs, or they have some kind of physical ailment that's going to get in the way of it. But for the most part, 99% of the time, it's always there and always accurate, doesn't change. So from that, we're able to look at like you and I and go, okay, what kind of relationship would this be like? What kind of interesting and curious and unique things will we find out about each other? But most important, by doing that, because it's hard coded, it gets us out of our crazy stories. And this is the piece that is most important, and the one that when I started looking at it, I went, oh my God, this is the biggest story buster that I've ever dealt with. And as a therapist working with people, the very first thing that I hear when someone comes in the door is all their crazy stories, right? And I say crazy because they make us crazy, right? They're crazy making. And some of the stories are accurate, but the highest percentage of them are just not true. They're made up, right? They're what we create. We create these beliefs that hopefully help us make good decisions going forward or in the present. But if the beliefs are founded on something that's not true, then we're making erroneous decisions about how we work with people. And like I've said to many people, if you go into the hospital and you want surgery, they need to know your blood type, right? So what if they operate on you and they use the wrong blood? You're in trouble, right? In fact, you're dead. But does that happen? Rarely, if ever. But as human beings, we're doing relationship surgery all the time, and we don't know the blood type. So this personal energetic profile that people are getting, that's your blood type. That's your energetic blood type. And it's knowing it is going to free you up and give you choice and freedom like you've never experienced before. And the most important part about all of that is as soon as you get out of your stories, the one thing you get to have and get and be in touch with is love. Okay.
I love that. Yeah.
And that piece is the biggest piece of them all. Because when we're in our stories, when we've got some kind of resentment or blame or shame or guilt or judgment, love is not there. It's not there. It's some projection. It's something you want. It's something you want to create, but it doesn't exist. Love exists only one time. And it's right now. It's in the present. And you're not in the present if you're in your freaking stories.
Yeah.
So
I love everything you have. I've seen so many interviews with you over the years. I mean, back when I was in training like 7 years ago to do what I do, I knew about you. I heard, so it was so great just meeting you in person last year. And all the interviews I've ever seen with you, I love everything you have to say about where is the love and how it all starts with us. I would love to do a whole live stream just on that topic. We have 120 people watching live already in the first 10 minutes. I know this is great. Everyone's loving this topic. I'm just keeping an eye on the chat. Jonathan Astley's watching. Shout out to Jonathan. I talked to
Jonathan. Yeah, I saw his question earlier. He's had a good one.
Couple questions. Vicky says, when will I get the email? I think you should get it right away, right?
Yeah, you do get it right away. Now, if you don't get it, go check your junk mail.
Yes, your spam.
Emailing, your spam. Emailing scenarios right now are really challenging. Yeah. If it doesn't come in, I'll see it and I'll make sure you get it, right?
Yeah, Larry doesn't let anything slip through the cracks. Another great question from Dee Dee. Do we have to have a partner to do this?
No. So the personal energetic profile is just you. Yeah. It's just you. And we ask for 2 pieces of information. Your birth date, which you should all know, right? No lying. And the other is your opposite gender parent's birth date. So for women, it's father. And for men, it's mother. But it needs to be your biological parent. So if you were adopted, don't use the adopted parent's birth date. If you don't know your parent's birth date, don't worry about it right now. Do the reprofile anyhow without it.
Okay, love it.
And we can explain why later, right?
So good. Yeah, these are great comments. I wish you could see these, but I'll try and get as many of them up on
here. I see them coming up. This is really great.
Compatibility is so crucial. It really makes or breaks a relationship. I don't think enough people really think about it when choosing a partner. Important.
We're going to redefine compatibility here today. This is important.
Yes. And it says loving each other is not enough to keep the relationship. Okay, Vicky got her report. Perfect. Awesome. All right. Do you want to get into the different categories of this, like communication style and all of that? Would that be the best place to go next? Or is there anything else you want to say that you didn't get to add?
We could talk for hours. So, and I'm just going to blast through the ingredients of this report because, as a training, it's actually a 7-day course, literally, 50 more hours to go in depth with it. So we're going to do this in a matter of minutes. I'm going to go through it and hopefully this will help you.
Okay. Yes. And for everyone, if you've, downloaded your free report, click the link in the description if you haven't already, but if you haven't, let us know, what you got for some of these different categories. Is the first one communication style? Would that be the best place to start?
So here's what you're looking at. On the report, there's 4 lifestyle traits. That's the first 4. And then you see a thing in the section called attractions, which is the same as chemistry. And we'll talk about chemistry. And then there are modifiers, which are personality characteristics. Now, you may have none, or you may have multiple. And it's not a disadvantage to have none. In fact, it's almost an advantage sometimes not to have none. But so each of these characteristics have kind of an upside and a downside. So if you don't have any modifiers, you don't have the downside, you have the ability to emulate all the others. So let's go back to the lifestyle traits because those are the foundational 4 things, right?
Yes. Real quick before we start, Celeste and everyone asking this, click the first link in the description. So close the live chat if you're watching live. Click the little upside down triangle next to the title of this video. It's the first link. And or you can just the comment section. It's in the comment section too. Okay. Yes. Cool. Let's get into this communication style.
So the first one is communication. Of the 4 lifestyle traits, there's 2 of them that are like highly important. They're all important, but there are 2 that like really kind of above the rest, and that's communication style and sexual response type. So the communication style, for every one of these, there's 2 variations. And so you found out that either your figurative talking style or your structural talking style. So Helena, yours. What are you?
I'm figurative.
You're figurative. Yeah. I'm structural. So this is fun between the 2 of us, right? So structural means that I pick my words to mean exactly what I want to say. And when someone talks to me, I interpret it kind of using Webster's dictionary. So if you say to me, if you're coming over for dinner and I go, Helena, when are you going to be here? And you go, oh, I'll be there in a bit. I'm going, a bit. What's a bit? I don't know what a bit means. Now, in your head, when you said a bit, you may have known exactly what that meant. It meant 15 minutes or 30 minutes. On my side, I'm going a bit. Does that mean she's really still coming or she's not coming over and I'm going to talk to her tomorrow or maybe never? I don't know. So I have to ask, what's a bit mean? How long is that really? And you may turn around and go, well, I'm just leaving my driveway. Okay. And I'm going, again, you know how long that's going to be. I don't. So as it's my responsibility to ask questions if I don't get clarity. And in communication, a lot of times people assume that they know what the other person's saying, or they assume that what they said makes so much sense that they just put it out there. I'll be there in a bit, right? And you go, I don't know what a bit means. So we have to both take responsibility to communicate with each other. But there's something really important also, and Jonathan asked this in his question earlier. He said, how do you help people that have two different communication styles? Well, awareness is where it begins. And one of the things that a figurative talking style person does is they're emotive. So I'm structural. I take things very literally, right? And I speak very literally. And a figurative talking style person is very emotive, and it doesn't mean they can't pick their words carefully, and they do sometimes in business, but in just general communication, they don't. It's more conveyance of an emotion. So if I'm talking, for the figurative people that are out there, if I'm just talking like this all the time and I'm using my words to mean exactly what I want to say, they're going, he's not saying fucking anything, right? Because they don't hear any emotion coming out from me. If I say to you, Helena, I love you. Oh my God, I just love you. And you're wanting to feel love from me. You don't get it from that. I need to go, oh my God, I love you so much, right? I have to put the emotion into it. And now you go, oh, he said something, right? So what happens oftentimes if you're in a relationship or in a communication, even with friends that are different communication styles, and you go, I clearly said to you how I felt, and they go, I didn't hear it. It's because either the figurative person didn't hear any emotion there and figured there's no reason for me to pay attention. He's just talking, right? Just yak, whatever. It's just words. And they don't mean anything if there's no emotion behind them, right? And I'm the structural person going, oh my God, how could I have been any more clear? I said, I love you. I don't even say that unless I mean it, right? Oh
my God. Wow.
So they're not hearing each other or understanding each other. And this is the key thing. So if you're the same communication style, misunderstandings rarely happen. You may disagree about a lot of things. Like we can agree to disagree, but misunderstandings are rare. If you have different communication styles, the possibility of misunderstandings are huge. And just to make this a little bit more fun, if you're texting or communicating via computer and you have two different communication styles, your chances of understanding each other are almost zip, right? So there was a study done years ago that in communication, words only represent 7% of our communication, right? Another 38% is our intonation, right? How my voice, how strong am I? Angry? Am I not angry? Am I, however that's 38% of it. Well, you don't see that in the text. And then the other is 55% is physiology. You don't see that in the text. So that means even if we were talking the same language, you have a 93% chance of not being understood if you're texting. If they're two different communication styles, take off another 3.5%, you got a 3.5% chance of being understood. You might as well go to Vegas and put money down on a craps table, right?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I get so many questions about the texting and communicating. I don't know if you saw Jonathan said, I hate it when people are vague. So Jonathan's probably structural, right? I love it. So I remember you gave me an example when we met at that party. You said a couple that you worked with and one was figurative and one was structural and they were in an argument. I just thought that was such a great example. Do you know which one I'm talking about? Where
I know exactly which one, because this was pivotal for me. It happened early on, many, many years ago when I was coaching. And this couple, thank God they survived this scenario. They had been living with each other for 6 months. And they were in an argument, a heated argument. She's figurative and she finally goes, I've had it. We're through. This is over. We're done. Right. And the structural guy, this is me, right, hears her and goes, well, okay. And kind of tucks his tail, walks down the hallway, goes into the bedroom and starts to pack, right? And fortunately, she walked in 5 minutes later and says, honey, what are you doing? And he says, well, you said we're through. We're done. This is over. So I figured you wanted me to leave. And she goes, no, I love you. I just didn't want to argue anymore. So her done, we're through, this is over, didn't mean the relationship was over. It just meant she needed like a timeout, you know, and she needed a break. She just didn't want to argue. He heard something different. Fortunately, she came in and found him. If she'd waited another 15 minutes, he would have had his bags packed. He would have been gone. She would have walked into the room and gone, that son of a bitch, he walked out on me, right? And he's walking down the street calling his friend Jonathan, says, hey, will you come pick me up? She kicked me out, right? So they didn't do that. And we had a chance to work together, and that changed everything, right?
Yes.
But this is how a simple misunderstanding, even especially in a heated argument where there's just emotions coming out and words being said that are not intended, you know, so someone who's figurative talking style shoots out a bunch of words emotionally. I'm taking them literally and going, oh my God, you know, I've really hurt this person. I've really said so many wrong things. And then I, as calmly as possible, because I want to be calm, I just start speaking. And the figurative talking style person goes, you just don't get it. You still don't get it. Because they don't hear an emotion from me. They think I'm just, they're watching my mouth go.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, what's the point? So we have to understand the difference. And this is the key piece. Like, can two people that have two different communication styles be in a loving relationship with each other? This is a question that gets asked all the time. The answer is yes, but it takes some work. It takes extra work. It's not simple, but for the right person, it's worth it. And that's the key here, right?
Yes. So I love it. I also remember you saying something like, if two people who have the same communication styles, when they're talking, they kind of get recharged. They can feel like they're talking forever, or they can talk forever and it can just feel like it goes by in an instant. And the opposite is true. If you, like for me, if I'm figurative and if I'm talking to someone who's structural, eventually one person's going to feel drained. Is that right? Do I have that right?
Exactly. This is a really big piece. So, you know, if we ask everybody to raise your hand, say in the chat room, go, oh yeah, that's me. If you've ever experienced a situation where someone totally drained your energy, right? The chat room should be filling up with, yep. Yeah. We all have, right? And we have a nickname for them. What do we call them?
Energy vampires?
That's it.
Is that right?
That's it, right? It's not very nice, is it? Right? It's like, you're an energy vampire. What? You know, it's like that kind of thing. And the reality is because the two energetic frequencies are not vibrating together, they're not harmonic, they're discordant, they're hitting each other and they're wearing you down. Anybody that's ever played with magnets and tried to push them together when you were a kid and they repelled each other, that's what the two people are doing, and it wears us down. Now, some people are in relationships with someone that's a different communication style. If they're spending 24/7 with them, like many are now with social distancing or stay-at-home orders, all of a sudden we're seeing issues that we have never seen on this planet before. Lots and lots of issues. Lots of therapists are so busy dealing with people that just never came up. Now, the problems may have existed before, but they had a way out. They were able to like get out of the house, go to work, do what they're doing. Now they're in the same space. They're being emotionally drained. They're being energetically drained. They have all the confusion and uncertainty of COVID and everything related to it. So there's stress of the unknown, right? There's information and disinformation and misinformation. It's making us all a little bit crazy anyhow, right? So when you add that to energetic differences, it gets to be a challenge that's huge, right?
Oh yeah. One of the most common questions I get now is, what do I do? I'm trapped in my house, or my partner and I are driving each other crazy. So hopefully this will be helpful if you're in that situation.
Yeah, create space, find space, go meditate, go grab a book, Find a space for yourself. Don't make yourself wrong for not wanting to be around your partner. This is the first and most important thing right now. Do not make yourself wrong for finding space for yourself, right? And even if you're in a small apartment, I don't know, go hang out under the kitchen table with a flashlight at night. Do anything, but don't make you or the other person wrong, because you will be wrong by doing that. You will depreciate the relationship, and something that we don't appreciate will always depreciate. So
I love that. Yeah. By the way, if you are with a partner and you're curious as to how your two energetic profiles match up, you can get your energetic romance report. I hope I said that right. That is the second link in the description. But go get your personal one now, and then we can answer any questions you have around it too.
And you're welcome to you can go back and get a personal energetic profile even on your partner and look at those and just get kind of the short look at it, right?
Yeah.
So, but the energetic romance report is the in-depth look. They are 38 to 93 pages long, and they go in great depth. So if you're looking for greater depth, whether it's your romantic partner or your child or your parent, that's the report to get.
Yeah, I did it myself. Maybe we can talk about that at the end. I found it incredibly helpful, and it was so accurate and spot on. Totally blew us both away. So, is there anything you want to say about the communication style?
There's one other piece, and it's just kind of a funny one. It's funny that I say funny, but the two different communication styles often don't have the same sense of humor. So, where you may say something, I may think, oh my God, that's so funny. I can't wait to tell my partner. And I go tell them, and they look at me like, was that supposed to be funny? Right. And it's kind of, or they go, yeah, that's funny. You're funny. Right. Like funny, weird. Yeah. So sometimes they don't always have the same sense of humor. So don't expect that. And then the other piece is that they often don't have the same close friends either. And a lot of people make their partners wrong. Like, why don't you like my friends? Why don't you want to hang out with my friends? And it's because they don't feel that deep connection, that kind of energetic connection that has you feeling like, I really want to reveal myself or go into a deep conversation with this person. So again, the make wrong piece is the thing that you want to stop today. Like if you're making anybody wrong, stop it. Just stop it. Don't do it. Promise me. I want to see in the chat room, how many people will promise not to make anybody wrong?
Right. Something I talk about all the time. Yeah, I can't date someone with a different sense of humor, something I hear all the time. Okay, so for this question, do we need the partner's dad's birthday? If it's a man you're talking about, it would be his mother's birthday,
always the opposite gender biological parent.
Okay.
Men, it's mother, women, father.
So you need his mother's birthday. Great question. Glad to clarify that. Okay, I like that.
That's communication style, and that's like the fastest way we can go through that. The next one is activity level, and this is the speed that we process information. And this is important because some people are what we call super active. They go like a bat out of hell. They love structure. Structure is so important to them. From the time their head leaves the pillow in the morning to when it hits the pillow at night, they love to know what they're doing. And in fact, right now, why we see a lot of depression, and we did a lot of work on depression prior to COVID. We've worked on it for years and years. But when a structural person is taken out of their norm, right, of having a planned out day, things they want to do, and all of a sudden those things are all thrown out the window, it's very easy for them to get depressed.
Yeah, that's
and me. Now, if you could go see a doctor, you'd probably saying, I'm depressed, I need drugs, give me something for it. And what doctors give you for depression are antidepressants, which are a downward spiral that are horrendously horrible for almost everybody, right? So when we find someone depressed, what we say is plan your day, plan something, plan it all through the day, even if it's a meditation or it's an activity, if it's finally going out and walking around the block, whatever it is, have your day planned out, because when you have a plan, you have no room for depression.
That's so me. Is that for super active people?
That's super active. Okay. That's super active people. Yeah. So super active people have another thing that happens to them is, like, again, in the chat room, I always said, hey, you super active people, how many of you have to stop yourself from finishing other people's sentences?
Oh my God. All the time. Yeah.
Right? It's because you know what someone's going to say before they say it, and you're just being nice. You're just being kind, not answering it for them. Or you've learned that they can surprise you sometimes. But super active people know that. And so what happens in a lot of relationships where there's a super active and a moderate active person is a super active person already knows the answers. And so they cut off their partner before they finish. And then the partner begins to develop a resentment. They don't even know why, because they don't feel like they're contributing in one way or another.
Yeah.
Or the super active person, and I can give you a story to for this one, but let me explain what a moderate active person is. Moderate active person is very methodical about how they make decisions. They can go like a bat out of hell when they're working on a project, but when they're done, they don't need to know what they're doing next. So this is what it looks like if Helena and I are hanging out at the beach. We're in Hawaii. We're drinking, sipping our Mai Tais. She finishes hers and she says to me, "Hey, you want another one?" And I'm looking at it, I'm going, it's not even half empty, right? It's like, wait. And, for her, she either wants to know, I'm going to have another Mai Tai, or we're going out surfing, or we're going shopping, or we're going whatever. And so my tendency is to say, hey, babe, chill. Babe's not a good word. Sweetheart, chill, just, put your feet up, relax. Well, a super active person doesn't do that, right? So for me to say that almost sounds like an insult, right? So a lot of super active people are categorized as ADHD. And it's absolutely not true. You process information fast. And it happens to kids, and it's a travesty because some teacher who's moderate active, very slow, speaking like this. They're just talking their normal pace all the time. It's like this, and the super active kid is going, oh God. And they need to do something, so they start to doodle or play with something, and the teacher's going, you can't pay attention, see? And it's not that they can't pay attention. They already know what the teacher's going to say for the next 60 minutes.
Yeah, totally.
Right?
Totally.
And so they get titled ADHD, or they have attention deficit syndrome or something of that sort, and it's totally wrong. So, and here's the reality for all the super active people on the phone right now. If I start talking at this speed and tell you about everything about what we're doing and how you should love it and what you do with a super active person, I keep talking at this speed, you're just going to, like, you in your chair, you're going, yay, he's finally talking at the speed I want him to.
Yeah.
That's not my normal speed.
Right.
And so I'm just doing that for you, which I'm happy to do if I know that's what is important. Can I do it all the time? No, I can't. Can you expect me to do it all the time? No, you can't. But if you understand that I'm moderate active and this is the way I'm normally speaking, then at least you can acknowledge and honor the difference. Yes. Do you want to be around me all the time? Maybe not. Right? But, my beloved is super active. And I can tell you there's times I can watch her and I'm going, I'm not getting to the point fast enough, am I?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty obvious. I'm good. Okay, I'll stop all the extra words and go right to it, right? And we have the same communication style, but it's important to understand that difference.
Yeah, I know I have to slow myself down all the time, especially around certain people, because I just feel like my brain works quickly, and sometimes I talk too fast because my words are just trying to keep up with my thoughts,
Yeah, but you don't talk too fast. You talk the way you talk, and it's beautiful. It's beautiful. Like everybody on this call right now, the one thing you need to know, if you've ever heard anybody say you're broken, even in the slightest way, that's BS. You are not broken. You are perfect the way you are. You may have things that you want to work on. You may have challenges. You may have traumas that you've gone through in your past. That's not a break. That's not a damaged good person. You are not that. We simply have things that we're working on to improve who we are, to emerge and evolve. And please, you got to keep that in mind, because if you say you're broken, you've made yourself a victim. You've cut off all kinds of opportunities. You're absolutely not even a little bit.
I love it. Oh my gosh. We got to do a whole live stream just on that. I love it. So in line with everything I teach. Cynthia got her profile. She said, I'm reading about my exact self. That's how I felt when I read it. And my partner too. So everyone go get it. It's the first link in the description. Cindy says, not a planner at all. I just go with the flow. So that's probably more moderate active, right?
Yeah, it could be. Now that when we get in, the modifiers can add different dynamics to this. So we'll see. There's a structural person right here. Hi. Okay.
So, yes.
All right. So this is moderate active, super active. We can go down long, dissection of it, but that's kind of on the surface, right? The next in the series is financial logic. And financial logic is one of those things that there's an energetics around money. The conservative financial logic person is aware of money all the time. They are. It's almost like they've got a journal, a financial journal going on. The non-conservative financial logic person, we call them rainmakers, right? Mm-hmm. And the reason why we call them that is that they really are not that tapped into money, but they attract money to them because they're not focused on it all the time. Mm-hmm. And it's really cool. It's really cool. Now, the conservative people, and I'm one of them, they will look at that and go, oh my God. Now, my beloved is non-conservative financial logic, and she's got a business. And when we got together, I said, do you mind if I kind of like do a little thing with your books, a spreadsheet? And she goes, why would you want to do that? It's horrible. Why would anybody want to do that? And I'm going, well, it's easy for me, right? And so like in 2 hours, I had the whole thing put together for a year, and she's going, oh my God, right? And she thought it was a huge burden for me because she hates it, right? And so, but it wasn't. It was just something I was happy to do. Now, when there's couples and both of them are non-conservative financial logic, I say to them, go get a bookkeeper. Yeah. Don't do it. You have better things to do. Spend time loving each other, creating with each other, spending time with each other. Get a bookkeeper to take care of your books. If there's a relationship where the non-conservative person is doing the books and the conservative person isn't, I go, flip that one. You got to flip it, yes. You know? Mm-hmm. So because it's much easier, and we can go down that path. Now, how we're brought up and the experiences we've had in our lifetime around money can have an impact on this. But at the genetic level, that's what's going on.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm totally conservative. What are you guys? I would love to hear it. Let us know in the chat. I'm just like so fascinated with all this stuff.
You know, Helena, you and I are both conservative financial logic. So we're getting ready for this, and we're looking at the links and making sure everything is in place, because that's the stuff that we do. It's just like, that's got to be done. I will do it, right? But someone else will go, oh, I didn't even think about that. Oh my God, I was just, you know. So there are attributes, there are positive attributes in every one of these variations, and what we want to do is embrace them and honor them and acknowledge them, not make wrong. Right?
Yes.
Okay. So the next one, sexual response type. This is ultimately the most challenging and the most important one. When it comes to beloved relationships, right? So if you're at an age, like some people are older, you know, they're at a point where sex doesn't matter that much to them anymore. I can't conceive that, but they'll tell me that. No, okay. But if a sexual quality, intimate relationship is important to you, then this one is critical. And the reason why is statistically, and I'm going to repeat this a couple times because I want you all to get it, 95% of the relationships that aren't matched for their sexual response type don't succeed over time.
Oh, wow.
If they're unaware of the mismatch and if they don't know how to accommodate for it. So those ifs are critical, right? The statistic is accurate, but if they know about the mismatch and they're aware of it and they can accommodate for it, then that relationship can flourish. So here's what happens. There's two different sexual response types. One is mental emotional, one is physical. Now, when I tell you about this, you have to remove a belief system that you may have in your head because you've probably heard it from people like David Data or Alison Armstrong or John Gray, that all men are, or all women are. And the belief system that's most common is that all men source from their core. I'm actually talking about something else. I'm being polite here, right? And all women source from their heart and their head. And the reality is that's only 50% accurate. If you're mental, emotional, sexual response type, which is 50% of the men on this planet, the mental connection, the emotional connection is far more important than the physical one to engage sexually. So what happens to a man? The mental, emotional, sexual response type person, let me share this first. Their sexual energy is all on the surface. It is flowing all the time. It is visible and it can be felt. And so lots of times a man will approach a woman and they're just curious, but they're feeling the sexual energy. And so they get standoffish because they think that he's making a pass. I'm mental, emotional, sexual response type. It made me, when I was a kid, I didn't understand this at all. I'm a very curious person and I love to make friendships. So I would come up and all my energy's there and I'm like excited and asking questions, and they're picking up on my sexual response type and go, put this guy in the friend zone right away, right? Because that's the safe place.
Yeah.
And I'm going, what just happened, right? And it took me years to figure that out, but it's important. Now, a woman who's mental, emotional, sexual response type, her sexual energy is all on the surface. So she comes up to a man or even a woman and starts asking questions. And the immediate assumption is she's flirting with me, right? And it's the farthest from the truth. Now, she may be, but for the most part, she's curious. But to immediately be put into that flirting zone, that like no one's seeing her anymore. She's not being seen. She's being seen as a sexual object. And the reality is that most mental, emotional women, like if I put 100 women in a room, I can pretty much tell you with a high degree of accuracy who's mental, emotional, and who's physical, because the mental, emotional women will dress conservatively. They will layer. They won't have low-cut clothing. The only time that they dress really provocatively is when they're dressing for their significant other, right? Or when they're out on the prowl. That does happen, but it rarely has to happen, because if there are 3 women and 2 of them are physical sexual response type and one's mental emotional, and they all go into the bar, and the mental emotional one is dressed very conservatively, and she may not even have any makeup on, her hair may be a mess, the men will approach her before they approach the women that are dressed to the nines, have enough cleavage showing that you don't know where it stops, right? They're short skirts, they're dressed very provocatively. The men will still be attracted to the mental emotional one. The reason why, their sexual energy is on the surface. Now, the physical sexual response person, their sexual energy is held inside. Okay. It's all held inside. And so, when we talk about Kundalini energy, that's a life force. It's important that it flows through our body. The mental emotional person is flowing all the time. That energy's there. We can apply it everywhere. The physical sexual response type person, it's held inside. And the ideal scenario is someone that has the same profile around their sexuality, because that energetic harmonic allows that energy to open up. It's like the person's got the key to the lock and they open the door and they go, oh my God, I'm free, right? And here's the key. If 2 people are mismatched sexually, that doesn't open automatically. So they have to find ways to do it. And the other thing about the physical sexual response type person is our byline for them is, when you're hot, you're hot. So, and this is like, nothing was more poignant to me. Can I swear on this thing?
Oh, yeah. Everybody asks me that. Yes, of course.
Okay, good. So I had a client years ago, and I'd known her for years. She never swore. I mean, there was never a swear word that ever came out of her mouth. She had the most perfect mouth, if you will, right? She's beautiful. And I'm sharing this with her about the mental, emotional versus physical. And she goes, oh my God, I love romance. I love all the music and the foreplay and all that, the prelude to sex. I love all that. And I go, well, that's cool, but do you need it? And there was a moment of silence, which is the most key piece. There's this moment of silence, and then she goes, no, just fuck me. Right? And I went, oh, like, how could you? I'd never heard that. So I would start, because of that experience, whenever I talk to a physical sexual response type person, especially women who really do appreciate the romance, and I'd say, do you need it? I consistently got the same pause. And then it was either, just do me, or no, I'm ready to go. And so the key here is, when you're hot, you're hot. Now, here's the challenge that happens in relationships, is that the mental emotional person doesn't necessarily know when the person's hot. And so here's a story. I'll just share a personal story. I had a girlfriend years ago, physical sexual response type, and I'm mental emotional. She's at work all day. I'm getting dinner ready, and I put on a fire. I've lit the fire. I've got candles going. I went and got flowers and did flower arrangements. I'm making dinner. I got the right music playing. I'm doing all my own foreplay is what I'm doing, right? And she comes to the door. I greet her at the door because I'm so excited to see her. And I go, and dinner's ready. And I go, are you hungry? And she looks at me and goes, oh, I'm hungry. She's not talking about food, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Fortunately, I picked up on it. And what she's saying and what had to happen at that point in time is like the food is now going to be leftovers,
Mm-hmm.
right? And
Mm-hmm.
we're going to the bedroom or wherever, and we're going to play and we'll eat later. But had I not caught the cue and went, well, let's have dinner because dinner's ready and we'll go play later,
Mm-hmm.
she would have thought, oh my God, he went to so much effort. This is so cute. It's so wonderful. It's so romantic. I'm going to go ahead and we'll have dinner, right?
Mm-hmm.
And everything would have been fine, except at an other than conscious level, Helena, her body's going, he missed my cue, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I get away with it that one time. If I do it again, now again at an other than conscious level, he missed my cue or she missed my cue. Now the body is going, I don't want to get excited because I don't want to be let down. We don't want to invest ourselves in something that's not going to happen. And our bodies will do that unconsciously, right? And so it's really important not to miss those cues. Because if we miss them so many times, then the other person shuts down. And the most common challenge I hear when I ask couples that are mismatched, I ask the mental emotional person, what are you experiencing? They said, I don't know what to do to get them excited. Like they just lay on the bed waiting for me to do something and I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
And I even ask and they say, well, I need a massage or I need to be touched a certain way. And it's like, well, or just whisper in my ear something, you know, and it's like, it doesn't matter at that point. They're already shut down. So we have to do a reset. And the work that needs to be done here is really important because there are couples that are mismatched sexually and they're totally committed to each other. They're not going anyplace else. Some do. They try open relationships. They try a lot of different things. And this is not, by the way, a judgment about opening your relationship, but it is one of the strategies that's often used because they're looking for sexual satisfaction.
Interesting.
Right? And so the key here is we need to step way beyond our knowledge and our training around sexuality because quite frankly, it sucks. And I don't mean that the way the word is, right? It's terrible. And so the key here is that we need to learn how to sexually engage. And we're not taught it in school. We're not taught it by our parents, but there are more right now therapists that work in the sexual healing world than any other area. It's the fastest growing area. Why? Because there's more sexual dysfunction than anybody's ever seen or been aware of or been not willing to tolerate, right?
Yeah. This is so informative. Everyone is loving this, by the way. For the 200 people watching live, give this video a like, leave us a comment. Which sexual response type are you? I'm mental, emotional. And I think you told me the first time we met that people who were kind of like cast in movies as like a, you know, whatever the romantic role is usually because it's right on the surface. We got a couple questions about that actually. First one's from Jody. Is it either or? I feel like I'm mental, emotional, and physical sexual.
So it is either or. And so the question for Jody, if it came up that you were physical, just the question is, do you need it? Do you need the mental emotional piece, right? Because listen, most of us love it. Men and women combined, romance, you know, music, environment, all that stuff. That's wonderful. Who doesn't like that? But if you're physical sexual response type, what you need to know is that when you're hot, and that's when your partner needs to know what you are. And most important, you need to be able to release your sexual energy. And to do that, just climbing in bed with someone who's a different sexual response type and getting it on is not going to do it. You need to learn how to move sexual energy. And this takes a lot more than just having sex.
Right.
Okay. And there are lots of great resources for that. And we can come up with a long list of them together, Helena, for people that want them. But there are so many people that are doing great work in this field now. The challenge is many of them don't know about this sexual response type difference. And so, in fact, one of the best programs I know of is with a couple that are mismatched sexually that in 5 years developed an incredible program. Why? Because they were trying to figure out how to save their marriage because of the sexual dysfunction. And in the process came up with incredible work. They were driven in their commitment to find it. So sometimes we find those answers right in our mismatches.
Love that. If anyone's interested, let us know. Maybe we can provide links for that. At the end, Dee says, I find it strange that the mental, emotional person would emit sexual energy constantly when the physical response person seems more sexual. Can you clarify this? A couple people asked similar questions.
So by seems more sexual, what I mean to say here, what I'm being very specific about, is that their sexual energy, because it's held inside, when they're ready to release it, it just needs to be released. So women, by the way, you're sourcing from your core and your heart at the same time, and you kind of have to meet in the middle, right? Men that are physical sexual response type, it's mostly in their core, and then it'll come up to their heart. So it's not that one is more sexual than the other. It's one sexual energy is more noticeable than the other. Okay. And the other sexual energy is literally held inside for an easy way for it to escape and be expressed. So no one is more sexual than the other. We're all sexual beings. We all need to move at sexual energy to really be healthy in our lives. Totally. Whether you're a nun or, you have a partner, moving sexual energy is important.
I just remember when we first met and you were doing all of our profiles, and I'm mental, emotional. My cousin, I don't know if you remember, was sitting next to me, is physical. And we were just like, oh my gosh, that is so me. And she's saying, that's so me. So it really is, it's so, and I never really thought about it that way before either. John, this is Larry, is fabulous. Love this interview.
John. So here's a key piece on sexual energy. Then we can move on to chemistry. Yeah. Okay. That, remember, the prelude to sex for a mental emotional person is very important. Okay, it's critically important. The aftermath to sex for a physical person is equally as important. The big mistake that a lot of people make, even physical people let their partners do this, they're done. They've had a sexual encounter, they've been sexually intimate, and then it appears, at least to the mental emotional person, we're done. We're finished. But the physical person's not finished necessarily. Most of the time, they need to be held. They need that connection to last. They could have an incredible orgasm or multiple orgasms or no orgasm, but an incredible experience. They don't want their partner to just get up and hop out of bed. And so what I say to partners that are mismatched, I tell the mental emotional one, you don't get out of bed until he or she says you can go, right? And if you've got to go to the bathroom, get your ass back in bed right away, right? But eventually they'll say, okay, thank you for holding me. And then they let them go, and then they're good. This is critical. It's really important. It can save a relationship.
Wow. Amazing. I can't wait to watch this back myself because I'm trying to read the comments and do all these things. I love what you said there. That was amazing. It's just a really practical tip. So good. Do you want to get into the modifiers now, or is there anything where
we got to go to attractions.
Attraction, that's right. I forgot about attraction.
This is the piece that this is the one piece that can absolutely mess up all of us, right?
Oh my gosh.
So attractions are our word for chemistry. And let's get clear what chemistry is. Chemistry are 6 brain chemicals, neurotransmitters, that all go cattywampus all at the same time. Okay? You got oxytocin, testosterone, PEA, norepinephrine, I went in at the wrong angle. There are 6 of them. They're not coming out of my head as quickly.
Dopamine, serotonin, maybe.
Serotonin, absolutely. Dopamine, those are the other 2, right? Yeah. So all of those get elevated. And when they get elevated, if I could reach them right now, I have a pair of rose-colored glasses in the shape of a heart. I put them on, right? What happens is all of a sudden we go from this rational person that can see things clearly to this totally drugged up person. I mean, we are literally on brain drugs, right? And I'll tell you how addictive they are. I met with a couple scientists who were brain surgeons years ago, and I was talking about these drugs, and I said, I really think they're like more potent than heroin or any of the really hard drugs. And they went, oh, you know what? It's actually proven. You're absolutely right. And I went, really? They are. So you have chemistry is a form of drug addiction, right?
Absolutely. Yep.
And there is research. Now, this is important because there's a lot of people that will say chemistry does not last. Not true. Okay. Not true. Bad science. The science was intended to be good. It came from people that, basically they did this a huge scientific research. They said after 2 years, chemistry dissipates and is gone. Sorry, they weren't looking at all the variables. And so that's debunked science. And I know this to be true because we were scientifically studied and we know that chemistry can last forever. What causes chemistry not to show up is when there's enough pain that causes those neurotransmitters to plummet. Okay. Pain will do it. Pain could be an argument. Pain could be a nail in your arm, right?
Mm-hmm.
It could be any kind of physical or emotional pain will cause those neurotransmitters to plummet. So what usually happens and why 2 years became the kind of the assumption truth is that usually it takes about 2 years before a couple goes, that's it, I've had it. Okay, we can't handle it anymore. It actually can happen a lot faster. But the reality here and what you're seeing when you see true or false attractions is the following. When your attractions are true, it means that you're attracted to someone that has a similar communication style as your opposite gender parent, okay, or has the same communication style as your opposite gender parent. Now, if your opposite gender parent's communication style is the same as yours,
hopefully we'll come back in a second.
Are we there? Okay, tell me when we're back.
Okay.
We're back?
Okay. Yes, we're back.
Okay.
Thank God I was on a heart attack for a second.
So do I need to repeat something?
No. You said if you have a true attraction, you have the same communication style, you are attracted to people with the same communication style as your opposite gendered parent.
So people that are on the phone are watching this now going, oh, I didn't like my mom, or I didn't get along with my dad. It doesn't matter whether you liked them or disliked them. It doesn't even matter if you knew them. It's a genetic thing. But what's most important, I have true attractions, Helena. So I have chemistry with someone who's the same communication style as I do. My partner's the same communication style as I am. And so I'm like infatuated with her. I love her. I make silly, crazy decisions sometimes. She'll ask me to do something. Can you give me a ride to work? I don't feel like driving. It's 30 minutes away. And I go, yeah. Right? It's like, what happened to drive yourself? Right? It's like, I always, and it's not because I'm a man or anything else. I just like want that connection. I remember one time before we were living with each other, we lived about 35 minutes apart. And it was like 11 o'clock in the evening. And I'm talking to her on the phone. And she says, why don't you come over? Now, we planned on seeing each other at 7 a.m. the next morning. And I was dead tired. It was a long day. And next thing I know, I'm in my car driving over there. And I laughed. I just broke out laughing. I went, oh my God, what am I doing? I was going to see her first thing in the morning. It wasn't for sex. It wasn't for anything else. She just wanted me to like snuggle. And I'm just going, okay, get in the car, drive over there, climb into bed, go to sleep, right? I'm drugged up. And I just started laughing and I didn't turn around. I just went, enjoy the drugs, right? So great there.
Both have true attraction and the same communication.
Right.
That's
so
how weird.
Now, if you have false attractions, then that chemistry, that powerful drug that gets you into that like crazy, I got to have them type space, right? Happens with someone who's a different communication style as you. My belief, and I don't have any science behind it, but if I was looking for the one thing that is the culprit responsible for our 50% divorce rate, it's chemistry, right? It's that we jump into relationships sometimes quickly. Like who has not met someone that has known each other for 2 weeks and they decide to get married, right? And you're going, that's crazy. Why would you do that? And it may be a relationship that, that the God has given us is the relationship of all time. But more often than not, it's chemistry taking over, and both people are making a crazy decision when all their friends are going, what? They want to support you, but they're going, are you out of your mind?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Now, most men and women, after they've gone through a number of relationships that ended up being a train wreck, know when chemistry hits them, they run the other way or they get very standoffish. And there's a value to that, because what they need to do is take their time, right? And really get to know person. And for those with false attractions, the best news, and the one that's really important, is that if you take your time to get to meet someone and know them and discover that it's really easy to communicate with each other, that you have so much in common, you've taken your time, and after a while, those neurochemicals will start to come out naturally instead of be forced out like a water hose.
Mm-hmm. Oh my
So,
gosh.
so the chemistry will show up, but you got to take your time to get there. Don't look for it in the first few seconds, because half of you are going to be dead wrong.
Yeah, it's what I talk about all the time. I have true attractions. I was shocked to find out I had true attractions. And we talked about this the first time. I don't know if you remember, but when we first met, I said about 10 years ago, I would have said I had false attractions because the men I had chemistry with were so wrong for me. It never worked out. But that was because I had a protector modifier. So I was actually protecting myself. We'll get into that for a minute.
And here's the deal. Most of the time, the real answer to that one is that if you have true attractions and you've brought the wrong person in your life over and over again, this is the truth. You'll know it. Don't trust me. You go inside and go, was I really ready for a relationship then? Totally. And most of the time you're not. You really didn't want to, you wanted a relationship, but you weren't ready to commit. So what better thing to do than get into a relationship that's not going to last?
Right? Emotionally unavailable, commitment phobe. Totally. That was like me. It's amazing. Amazing. Great question from Nadia. What if you have what if there are incompatibilities? How do you deal with it? Probably a topic for a whole nother live stream. I know we've already come up to the end of the hour. Anything you want to say quickly about that? I know if you download your energetic romance report with you and your partner, that gives you all kinds of tools and tips, right?
Yeah, you need to talk about it. And this is the piece. The key piece is you need to embrace what you are, because it's what you are. It's the divine, beautiful, exquisite being that you are, right? And you need to also acknowledge and honor what your partner is. And then there are many things you can do to really to accommodate for your differences. Okay? You're not sacrificing any. You don't want to sacrifice who you are to meet the other person, but there are ways to accommodate for differences. My partner and I have two different activity levels. I have to accommodate for that all the time. And it's easier for me to accommodate than it is for her. So if Helena and I were in a relationship together, she's super active, I'm moderate active. If we're working together, I'm going to need to accommodate. She's going to want me to speed up and make decisions much quicker than she does and talk more like this than the way I normally talk. Right. And you can even watch her. I just watch her face kind of, she goes into a smile mode as soon as I start talking faster. Right. And before that, she's going, is he going to get it out of his mouth? Right? We're at the top of the hour. When's he going to get done? Right. So,
I love it.
Right. No, so I have to learn to accommodate and love who that person is. Right. And also at the same time, love who I am and find ways to accommodate.
Love it. Oh, I love how I could talk to you all day about this stuff. This is so interesting. So Vicky has a question about the true and false attraction. I might not be attracted at first to a guy, but after knowing him, I can start to feel attraction. That's if you are false. I'm trying to.
Well, there could be lots of reasons for that, but most of the time that's a false attraction. She has false attractions. Yeah, that's exactly it, Vicky. So, we could, if I had false attractions and Helena had false attractions, I would have been calling. If I wasn't in a relationship, I'd been going, I got, she's got a boyfriend. I don't care. I want to date this woman. Right. Why? Because we have so many other things in common that it seems like, wow, this would be such a cool match because we're just like into the same things and we have the same passion and belief and maybe even a lot of the same principles. But we both had true attraction, so we didn't feel anything for each other, right? In terms of chemistry. And so if for you with false attractions, you're likely with someone that is a good match, and taking your time to get to know them really is like kindling the fire until it's ready to blaze. Okay.
Love it. Yeah, I'm like laughing over here. This is, by the way, I don't know if you remember this either, but this is how Mike Goldstein and I found out that we were the exact same person. We're matched on everything except our attractions are opposite. It was so interesting.
So here's two people that are a great energetic match, both going, whatever.
Yeah.
You know, that's like, yeah, that's not my gal, and she's going, that's not my guy, and yet they're best friends, right?
Yeah. We could just talk forever. We know what we're thinking. We just laugh without even having to say anything. And everyone goes, "Why don't you date?" Everyone on my channel, my whole family before I met the guy. Now.
And they're both bigger to talking style and super active, right? So if I watch them, they're talking and going at it, and I'm going, "What are they talking about?" I'm going, "Wow, how do they do that?" It's like, it's incredible. I don't even know what, it's like. So I just observe it and go, that is a beautiful thing. That is absolutely a beautiful thing, right?
So funny. Yeah. I love that. Anything else you want to say on true and false attraction? We should do another
you can go on the website. There's a 4-part piece on a blog on chemistry, and if you really want to read about them, that speaks a lot to it.
I can do that when we're done too, if you want. Yeah. Do you want to go into the modifiers? I don't know how you're doing on time. Or
I have plenty of time. I could do this forever, and I love the questions. So please ask questions. If you're in the chat, ask the questions.
So I know you guys are all loving this too. This is great. Let's see. Yes, thank you guys so much. And as an empath, false attractions can be a pain in the butt. That's funny.
So that was Purple Luva 77. My question for her, if she can ask her do you have any modifiers? This might be a good road, because I'm curious. There is a modifier that often shows up with people who feel they're empathic.
Interesting.
And there's a couple modifiers that show up there. Okay. And I almost consistently see this particular modifier with people that quote unquote are empathic or psychic, right? So she hasn't told us yet.
Another question: would a guy choose his career over a connection? He says he misses me. He's fighting to get a job over the last 6 years. We went on 2 dates. Didn't find. It would be interesting to see his energetic profile, right? I don't know if you see
would a guy choose his career over a connection? That's a question that's outside of energetics, right? Okay. But there are both women and men who choose careers over connections. Lots of them. And it used to be obviously more men. Now I think it's a toss-up. Really, there are probably more women choosing careers over connection. That statistically, women are diving into education more aggressively than men, especially young women that grew up with a single parent. This is like women raised by women. And boys, when you look at women raised by women and boys raised by women, this is a statistic that more of those women are going into careers and continued education than the men. And it's just, these are some of the things that we're seeing in single families that are, need attention paid to them, right?
Right. Okay.
So it's a great question, and there are going to be many answers to that question, all that we can address, but we just have to go down a deeper path to find them.
Okay, we're getting lots of questions here about modifiers. So let's just go into those if you want. I don't even know how many there are or anything you want to say about that.
There are five modifiers. There's actually 6, because one of the modifiers, we used to say 5, now I say 6, because one of them will say none. Now, if it says none, it means that you don't have any of the other modifiers, but you can emulate all of them. And the byline for you, and if we asked your friends or your family, they would all say the same thing, which is, with this person, what you see is what you get. And when I say what you see is what you get, almost everybody I talk to with no modifiers go, yeah, that's pretty much it. Right? And if I talk to their friends, they go, oh, that's absolutely it. So no matter how strifeful a situation, how challenging a situation, they manage to just show up consistently, emotionally. And it's really beautiful. Now, the modifiers of them, there are 5. And it would take us way too long to go through all of them in detail, but I'll hit the key points. There's the perfectionist. I'm a perfectionist. A perfectionist is a truth seeker. So for me, finding the truth is critically important. It's almost impossible for me to deal with a situation if I can't find the deeper truth in it. And if I discover that there's no way for me to get to the truth, I will eventually abandon it. Like if I'm trying to find the truth as to whether there are conspiracy theories or not right now around COVID, getting to that truth is impossible. Some that people will argue with me on this, but if I have to go down the scientific road to get proof, it's very hard to find. So do I become a conspiracy theorist or a vaxxer or non-vaxxer? No, I can't do it. I have opinions, but they're just opinions, right? And I would not force them on anybody. Sometimes, though, when I find the truth, I know it, and then I'm willing to teach it and show it and explain it and take the time with it and live it, right? But also as a perfectionist, what I have is a core wound, and the core wound is not feeling good enough, right? So since a little kid, energetically, when I do something, I'm constantly, and this is why the perfectionist, how do I make it perfect? Well, we all know there's no such thing as perfect, right? There's near perfect. We can get near perfect. We can always make things better and better and better. But if I'm holding out for perfect, I'm in trouble, right? And if I'm looking at everything I do with a perfection eye, I'm making everything I do not good enough. So when I grew up, my father was the kind of person that anytime I produced something, he said, how could you make it better? Well, I was already doing that, right? I was already making myself not good enough. And when my dad did that, it created strife between us, right? So as a kid, if you've got children that are perfectionists, you need to know this. You need to know this because you need to support them to know that things are as good as they can be at any given point in time, right? And what we want to get to is the best possible in that moment, not the absolute best possible. And also realize that we are our biggest enemy. So if I'm not happy with something, like I'm writing a book and I'm not happy with the book, that book could take years to come out, where the next person could write a book in 2 weeks. The perfectionist, it's kind of hard to do.
Totally.
Okay.
Totally.
So
Yeah.
that's the perfectionist. Now, there's a lot more to it than that, but that's on the surface. So,
Okay.
Purple Love is, so she's a truth seeker. She's a perfectionist. Of the two, what I would call her psychic modifiers, the perfectionist is one of them. Many perfectionists call themselves empaths. And I'll get to that because we're going to come to the ultimate.
I'm curious to see what modifier you see with empaths. Yeah.
Okay. The perfectionist is one of them. The other is the protector.
That's me.
So the protector is the most psychic person on the planet. Okay. They literally sit in the middle of the psychic highway and they see everything coming and going. And if I have a perfectionist and, anybody who's a protector that's on the call right now knows that there's times when they just know something's going to happen. Right. Now, I personally make a distinguishment between a psychic sense and intuition. Okay. So intuition is kind of a gut feeling. My intuition says, and you feel it kind of in your gut, right? But the empath is more of a psychic sense. They have a knowing. It's a clarity. It's a certainty about a situation. And they don't have to know where it comes from. They just know. So the protectors, they are the most psychic of all of them. And they just have this incredible knowing. And it's like 99.999% of the time, they're right. And here's the challenge. When they're little kids and they go on high alert about something, because this is what a protector does. This is how their strategy in life is to look for everything that can go wrong so they can protect themselves and others from harm.
Yeah.
That's what they're doing. Perfectionist, that's me, and Purple Luba. I don't know what your real name is, but I'm going to call you Purple. So, and Purple, we're looking for what can go right, right? The protector is looking for what can go wrong, and because they want to be able to protect everyone. Right? And so the challenge with that is that if they look for what can go wrong and continue to focus on what can go wrong, they will find it. So we know from the law of attraction that we will attract what we focus on. And we also know from the book, if we ever watched the movie The Secret, it talked about the law of attraction. Well, there was one critical piece missing in that movie for the law of attraction to work. And that critical piece, you don't have to pay for it. If you're getting ready to pay for it through some other program, save your money. I'm going to give it to you right now.
Is it intention?
It's intention.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Absolutely. And for a protector, intention is built in. It's genetically in you. So you have to be very, very careful what you focus on, right? If you see what looks like a landmine up ahead, you see something that you know is going to go wrong, and you continue to focus on it, it sure as hell will happen. So what you need to do is you need to go into what I call a solution orientation. And what I tell protectors, when you go on high alert, just go, so, because so stands for solution orientation. You need to come up with an option that you can follow in case something that you intuit or you psychically see comes to be, right? And the most successful men in business, by the way, are protectors, because what they do is they're constantly, when they make decisions, they've looked at all the options. And when something's going to go wrong, everybody comes in the boardroom going, what's going on? What, the sky's falling, the sky's falling. They go, no problem. We're just going to go this way instead of that way, right? And they go, how did you know? Well, they had a plan. But the challenge is those same men go into their personal lives, and instead of looking for a solution when there's an emotional issue showing up, they focus on it and they call in the exact problem that they don't want to have happen. So protectors on the call, focus on what you want. Watch your language. Ask for what you want. Don't ever, ever, ever ask for what you don't want. If you had a relationship and you're looking for a great man in your life, don't say, I don't want another cheater. Because the universe does not hear, I don't want. They just hear cheater. And you will call it in faster than lightning. Guaranteed. Absolutely guaranteed. Every time.
So true. Right? That's why I have literally hundreds of videos just on that, because I'm the protector and I know what that's like.
We talked about this, right? Know.
Yeah. Can you be both? You're talking about the perfectionist and the protector. Yes. You can have kind of combination of modifiers, right?
Yeah, and this is where crazy making can start to happen, right? So of all these modifiers, the most I've ever seen anybody have is 4 of them. Okay. And there's very few people. This is like 1/10 of it's a tiny, tiny percentage that have 4 modifiers. Some people have 2, many have 1, many have 2, very few have 3, very, very few have 4. When you meet someone with 4, that is the most complex person you will find.
Oh, wow. Interesting. What about this one? What if we have no modifiers? Can we have all of them? This makes
so if you have no modifiers, here's the key here. You can emulate all of them. So the person with no modifiers has the ability to develop a psychic sense, has the ability to be like an achiever, who I'll describe in a few moments. You have those abilities, but you're not genetically driven by them. That's the key piece, right? Okay. So you can go in and out of it. You can emulate it. You can sit down with me and Helena, and we'll talk to you about how we work with them, and you listen carefully and go, I do that sometimes, and you do it sometimes, but you're not energetically driven by it. Helena is driven. She's looking for what can go wrong energetically. She has intention built in. She has to be extra cautious what she focuses on. Yeah. I cannot give up unless I find the truth on something. Let me put it a different way. I will give up if I can't find the truth, because I don't want to spend any more time with it. right?
Yeah, yeah, Celeste. I'm always looking for what can go wrong. You're maybe a protector like me, right? Aditi says SO, solution oriented. I'm going to focus on it now.
Yeah, that's
Awesome.
perfect, right? Okay, so there's those two. By the way, two protectors in the same relationship, if they disagree on something, is like that picture of watching two rams fighting where their horns are locked and they just cannot get to a solution. And they literally have to pull their horns apart, take a connected time out, calm down, get their emotions out of it, and then come back together. So that can be a furious, challenging situation. So, when you got two protectors together, on one hand, they have amazing insight when working together, but if they disagree, then you have some real challenges, right? And
Yeah.
they have to learn how to manage them. So we have perfectionist, protector, someone with no modifiers. There's the achiever. The achiever, this person is an amazing person. They get shit done like no one else on the planet. They can redirect, and this is the key piece. They redirect all 100% of their energy to the task they're on, which means if you're not their task, they don't see you. So if you're in a relationship with someone who's an achiever and they're on task and you're going, hello, hello, over here, hello, honey, hello, and they don't respond to you, and you're going, where's the love? I'm totally not feeling the love. Well, it's because they're on task. They need to get their tasks done. But the great news is when you're their task, it's like nothing else on the planet. They will put their mobile phone in the garbage can to be with you, right? They will set everything else down because they want to be 100% present for what they're working on. Now, achievers don't multitask well. If you're an achiever and you're trying to multitask, stop it. Okay. And if you're an achiever and you used to keep lists and you don't do anymore, start creating lists for what you want to do and prioritize them in order of importance. And you let other people know what your priorities are and ask them to let you get your things done. Achievers hate to be interrupted, and they get interrupted all the time by people because they get stuff done. They go to work for someone, they're the most productive people. So their managers go, I got another task for you. Oh, you're so good. I got another task for you. Oh, let me give you another one. And next thing you know, they don't want to work for you anymore because they're not getting out of bed excited. They got too much stuff on their plate and they're expecting it all at once. Right? So, I mean, we can go down that. So we got protector, perfectionist, achiever, enroller. This is an important one. Of all these modifiers, none of them are really gender specific except for this one. Now, it has elements that are gender specific and elements that are not. Enroller women are the largest population of single women over 40.
Oh, wow. Wow. That's good to know.
Here's why. An enroller is an incredible leader. They get things, they're able to get things done, but they know what they want to do and they know how they want to do it. They're extremely creative. They're huge team builders. And to kind of give you an example of how powerful they are, whether you're man or woman, imagine you've been given the job to be the conductor of the New York Philharmonic Orchestra, right? And as the conductor, you're also given charge to hire all of your orchestration, all your orchestra members, right? So you go out and what you do is you find the best string instruments and the best horn players and the best percussionists. And you find the best because your love in life is to take people who are really good and show them how they can be even better, right? And so people love working for enrollers because they're constantly looking for someone's attributes and helping them step up and be better and better at what they do. If an enroller doesn't have a team, if they're working on things without a team at all by themselves, it's the hardest thing in the world for them to do because they have to get up and motivate themselves every day. But here's what enrollers do. They create stuff and then they want other people to implement it. And one of the things that I found out, remember I said I had a major breakthrough when I met the person who I originally found out about genetic energetics. Well, he told me I'm an enroller, and I am. I've had 33 occupations in my life.
Oh my gosh, wow.
It's a lot of them. And I've had some great successes. And I've left a lot of those successes on the table. Why? Well, I thought it was because I was a failure that I couldn't stick with something. The reality was I got bored.
Mm-hmm.
I had a restaurant business. Running this restaurant day after day, the same way every day, was just painful. So we started catering. Catering from a menu was painful. So you know what we did? We took pictures, and every single catering event was a new creation. I loved that,
Yeah.
right? But otherwise, I couldn't have done it. So, Celeste, you're an
Yeah.
enroller. Here's the thing about enroller women: they are a man in a woman's body.
Ah, interesting.
Okay. So they don't need a man. Now, this isn't to say that other women do need men, but enrollers, more than anything, especially enroller women, they can compete in a man's world, and they love to, and they win. They win because they're sharp, they're fast, they're effective, they're creative. They know how to lead teams. And so most of the time, if a man charges them, they go, bring it on, right? And they just go for it, and they win because they won't accept anything else other than a win.
Mm-hmm.
Now, here's the challenge. So they don't need a man. They can do both sides of a relationship, no problem. So now, but they want a man, they want a partner. Okay. And by the way, if you're same sex in a relationship, an enroller woman wants the non-enroller to be the sub versus the dominant, right? They want them to be to have the more feminine versus masculine attributes. Okay. So what happens is, now I'm an enroller, right? My partner is also an enroller.
Wow.
So I go to open, and it's been crazy because I've been attracting enroller partners for decades. Finally figured it out. It was because I needed to know enough about this to teach others. The universe was saying, here's another lesson, here's another one, here's another one. Right. Thank you. So the key is like, if I go to open the car door for her, she's going, don't do that. I can get my own door. Right. And I know she can get her own door. But what I want to do is acknowledge my love for her, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to tell her she's incapable. It's just my way of reminding how much she's my beloved. And so I love to do it. Now, I used to like run around the car to open the door so she'd get out. That I failed at. I cannot run around the car fast enough, right? She's super active. She's out of the car before the door's open. So the key here is that what enroller women do, though, is they, like, if she was to say to me, no, I don't want you to open the door. I don't care what you say. I don't want you opening the door. She's kind of emasculating me, right? She's taking away something that's really important that I want to give her. Now, we can question whether that's a sound belief system or not, but the key is that there's a lot of things, as if I'm in my full masculine, that I want to do for my partner. There's a lot of things I do. I want to build, I want to help, I want to contribute, I want to support. Well, if she comes from a place where she doesn't need or want any of my support anytime, then I sit there and go, why am I here? What's the point? And that's what enroller women do to most of their men, and why the relationships break up, and why when they're over 40, what I get when I interview most enroller women is, I'm fine by myself. It didn't work with men. There's not a man that's good enough for me. Or they think they need a type A personality, which is not what you want, right?
So interesting. Yeah, lots of comments about the enroller. Being enroller makes sense to me. She was once told her celestial energy is male. Didn't you say that the enrollers are kind of like have that male energy in a woman's body, sort of?
Yeah, they do. Right? And so if she is, and by the way, if we look at Vedic astrology, good astrologists, numerology, enneagrams, they will support a lot of these modifier characteristics. And so, I would expect it wouldn't be wrong if she doesn't have it, but I would expect that she would have an enroller modifier if she's told that.
Okay. Okay. Is that all the modifiers? I believe it is.
We've left one out. What's the other one? Oh, the other one is the engager.
Okay.
Okay, so there's an upside and kind of a downside for all these modifiers, right? So then the enroller has all this creative ability, but they can also screw things up if they try to do it on their own. The women can emasculate their men by mistake. Now comes the engager, and this one has no downside, unless they're an introvert. And here's what an engager, we call this the charisma trait. And engagers, they're great. Everybody loves them. even though sometimes they drive us crazy, they love them. And what it is, they've got this energetic piece that makes us want to reveal in fullness to who they are. So if I have a bunch of gaugers in the room, I'll say, what's the most common thing that happens with you? And all the hands will go up and they'll say, people tell me all the time, I've never told anybody that.
Yeah.
And they do. They pour out everything to them. You ask a question and it's just, whoa, they give it up, right? And so, in fact, their charismatic capacity, when they ask you questions, you will find yourself answering the most private questions that you would never tell anybody to an engager. And you really have to, you really have to like stop yourself. My ex-partner was an engager, and one time he asked me, I went on a date and he said, "What did you do?" I'm going, well, it's not your business. And then I found myself starting to say it, and I went, and I finally had to train myself to go, it's none of your business. And here's the crazy thing. Engagers are not attached to their questions. So if they ask you something and you go, I don't want to tell you, they go, oh, that's fine. And they'll ask you something else. So they really don't care so much about the answer as much as they love to inquire.
Yeah.
They make great investigative reporters. They're great journalists. As attorneys, they can get things out of you that nobody else can. And an engager attorney knows everything.
I love that. I know a lot of people like that, actually. I know exactly what you're talking about. When it says personality modifier, is that how I find out what I am? Yeah, it's at the bottom of the energetic profile, I believe, right?
Right. Yeah. So if our sensual brunette, what a great name. If our sensual brunette is looking and it shows that there's no modifiers, then you have none, which means you can emulate them all. And if we were to ask you and say, what you see is what you get, you go, yeah, I'm a sensual brunette, of course. Right?
Okay. Yes, she said she has no modifiers. No modifiers.
There we go.
People here are really resonating with the enroller. I've had people tell me their whole life story. That's what we had a great question from Kimberly up here. Let me see if I can get it. Let's see. Where did it go? Here we go. Can an achiever and a perfectionist be one and the same?
No. They achiever wants to get something done. A perfectionist really needs things to be perfect, where an achiever needs completion. Okay. Completion is the key. And if if you're a perfectionist and achiever, so you could have both those modifiers.
Both, right?
Yeah. If you have both those modifiers, then it's kind of cool, actually. I would love to have the achiever modifier as a perfectionist. I would get more stuff done.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
But I have the enroller and perfectionist, so I got this creative mind going crazy all the time, and I'm working on something and I get sidetracked. Like I have to shut my computer. I have to take Facebook and throw it out the window to get stuff done, or else I'm constantly, thrown sideways.
Yeah, because she says she feels like she has both. Yeah. My guy has both. He's the achiever and perfectionist. And
so that's a great combo. It's a great combo for a perfectionist because they find their way to completion faster than a perfectionist would on their own.
Okay. Jody says, I joined late. Okay, yes. It's the first link in the description, Jody, and I think there are some other people. Yeah. Close the live chat, open the description. It's also in the comment section. First link, you can get it totally free. It just takes a minute to fill it out. So I'm trying to do a million things at once right now. Why are people? There's a lot of questions about how do you become why are you the way that you are?
It's your genetics. I mean, it really is an energetic frequency. I want to speak to a second, if I can, Helena. There are a number of people that have run energetic romance reports, and I won't state the name, but someone just recently ran one, and where they are completely mismatched with their partner. Right? So one's figurative, one's structural, one's superactive, one's moderate, one's non-conservative, one's conservative, one's physical, one's mental, emotional. Now, if I was listening to my original partner 10 years ago, they would say, doomed to failure. Okay. And what I want to say to them is that I have many clients, really gosh, more than on two hands, that are mismatched fully. And some of them have been together for decades. Some of them have multiple kids. There are multiple reasons why we get into relationships with people. And, I'm going to give you an analogy. Did I talk about a three-legged stool? Because this is important. Okay. So relationships. Let's think of a relationship as a three-legged stool. One leg is physical. One leg is emotional. One leg is energetic. So if we take one leg out of a three-legged stool and we try to sit on it, what happens? We're over. We're on our butt, right? We fall on our side, we come down, we crash. It's kind of like riding a bicycle and you come to a stop and you don't put your foot down, you crash. So most people get into relationships based on two things. Physical. So we look at someone, I look at her and go, oh my God, she's the right height, she's the right shape, or he's the right height, shape. This is the man or woman for me. And, we have all these physical decisions, and both women and men always do this. We also do this in business, right? We make decisions lots of times on physical things. If we're hiring someone to be a disc jockey or a jockey for our thoroughbred horse, he's not going to be the size of a linebacker, right? So we make decisions based on physicality and relationships. If we want to be married to each other and have kids, it's not going to work if they live in Geneva and I live in San Diego, right? So the physical piece is a criteria that is always there. That's one leg. The other leg is who someone is. It's what you believe. It's like when I was talking about you and I, Helena, I'm going, my God, we both love the work we're doing. We love working with relationships. We love helping people. We have a lot of the same beliefs, a lot of the same principles, a lot of the same desires. That's an ingredient for a great relationship, right? So if I looked at those two and I go, she's beautiful and she has all these other things, those are the two legs, I'm in, right? Mm-hmm. But here's the challenge. We could get in and fall madly in love with each other, and chemistry could drive us even deeper in love. We could be like drugged up at the same time, and we're moving down the road, and all of a sudden we crash. We don't even know why. What the heck happened? And it's because maybe we had a conversation. We have two different communication styles, and we didn't pay any attention to that because we figured everything else is so great, we can make it work. Yeah. So we crash, and we get up and we dust ourselves off, and we go, okay, let's try this again. And we go a little further and we crash. We get up, we dust ourselves off and go, let's go talk to a therapist or a coach, right? So we go at it and go at it, go at it, but we never looked at the third leg, which is the energetic piece. Yeah. So if we know all three of them, they don't always have to be matched energetically, but if we know what they are, then we have a strong foundation to work from. And two people that the physical and the emotional piece works so well, and no one shows up in our life without a reason. Here's the other belief. I believe that everyone shows up in a reason and a purpose, and it serves us. There are no coincidences, including why people are on the line listening to this call right now. It was meant to happen for all of us, you, me, and all the listeners. Okay? So why are we here? Why are two people together? The person that ran the report where you're very different, there's lots of reasons why you're together. And this information, the report you have is going to be a long one. Read it, share it, discover those things. Many of them you probably already knew. There's lots of recommendations in there on how to support those differences. I mean, it is a long report. Some of them are 90 pages long because we went at length to help you. And we're also here. Our company is here to support you. We have energetic relationship professionals, ERPs, that are trained to work with couples. I work with couples like this all the time because they are committed to each other, right? So you can make it work. It can work. You have to do your own work, right? And it's possible.
Oh, that is beautiful. Everything that comes out of your mouth, I love it so much. Everyone's loving it too. So over 200 people watching still, and this is the longest live stream now I've ever done in my all my years of doing this. If people want to get an energetic romance report for them or their partner or potential partner or ex-partner or whoever they're dealing with, that is the second link in the description, right? So they can go check that out.
Yeah, you can get those. And if you want support, if you're really looking for coaching around this, I do the work. I have other people on my team that are certified to do this work. And, we're certifying people as often as possible. I don't have near as many as I'd like to have.
Amazing. Yeah.
But, we're here to support you. We will help you through it, and that might be keeping your relationship together. It also might be a conscious uncoupling. So what I want to say is, we make decisions and we want to be discerning and we want to come from a place of love, not from a place of pain or resentment or anger or blame. And sometimes that means that two people have to go, you know what? This has been one hell of a ride. And I love you more than I've loved anybody. And it's time we go a different direction. But do it with love, do it consciously.
So great.
This has been the most painful ride ever, and I'm not done. Let's take it on and go the next. Let's take the next evolution of our relationship. Let's emerge further in our partnership, and we will support you either way.
Renal is asking if there are certified people in Australia that teach this.
I have someone in Shanghai, but not an Australian. I do have an Australian that's certified, but they're not in Australia. We're all over the world right now, and we work by Zoom. We work online. It's great to meet in person. Right now, it's more difficult to do, but I don't have a fully certified person in Australia right now because they moved.
Okay, yeah. A lot of people are asking, can we become a coach for this concept? Do you have maybe I'll include some more links when we're done. I didn't even know that you certify people. That's amazing. I get asked about that all the time.
There is a on the website, there is a training section, and you can go in and read about becoming an energetic relationship professional. It needs to be updated. Bad on me, really. I have not done a good job with this. It needs to be updated. There will be, my goal this year was to do a live event at the beginning of the year. Well, look what happened, right? So now I have to reschedule that, and hopefully I will schedule a live event, which starts with a 3-day event, which is the first phase of the certification. And then if you choose, you can go into the second and third phase.
Okay, yeah, she's asking how to get certified. Hopefully that answered it. Maybe I can include some information when we're done with this for anyone interested. Lots of great comments. Perfect reflection on the three-legged stool. So true. This is amazing. Should I bring Larry back on? What do you guys think? Everyone's loving it. Over 200 people watching all the way to an hour and 41 minutes.
Wow,
that we've been doing this.
I'm honored. Yeah. Thank you.
So great. Is there anything else you want to say? Any last words of wisdom or anything else you'd like to include before we close out?
This is I can't give you the title of my book that I'm working on, but it's my ultimate passion right now, and it's where all this work has taken me. And that's that a lot of people are out to try and define what love is, right? And people have been doing this for years, right? And they've been writing poems and movies and everything else. What is love? Or I experienced it and I want more of it. And I can tell you that if you're looking for a definition of love, you'll never find it. It will never be accurate. There is no definition for love. Love, as soon as you define it, is no longer love. And what I mean by that is that if you define love by a performance or an action that someone gave you yesterday, or a performance or an action that you want to have in the future, it's really an activity. It's someone's way of interacting with you that you really want. It's not love. Love only happens at one time. It happens in the present, in this moment. Love is a life force. We all have it. If you think that you're missing love or you're broken and you can't love, it's not true. You woke up this morning. You got up, You took a breath. You did the most unconditionally loving thing you could do. You decided to live another day. And then the rest of the world came in. COVID showed up. You were stuck at home. You had to put on a mask. You had to feed your kids. You had to worry about work, your finances. Every imaginable thing possible comes in. And while you're focused on all these things you need to take care of, all these things that are important to you in your life, we can easily forget that we already are love. We're breathing. It's our life force. Without it, you would not exist. We like stress. We like tension. It's like the flip side of our life force, of what love is. And so we invite it in. But for everyone listening, know that we need to get to the present to be totally loving. We need to, in the midst of all our shit, right, and all our challenges, to be able to have that spark, that second, to take a breath and notice that our heart's beating and know there's enough love here to find a solution, to be compassionate, to be in gratitude, to understand someone, to acknowledge and honor our differences, to look at someone who is an absolute asshole in Facebook and what they said and go, there's a reason why they did that. They came from a place that had them show up in this way, in this manner. They're aggravated, they're antagonized, whatever. They're not a bad person. They just are showing up like that at this moment. They're as loving and capable as we are. And the piece that, like, if you study heart math or, the science that speaks to the fact that our hearts all beat at the same time, the health of this planet has to do with our ability to drop in and be present with this life force, this heart that we have, because we can all beat together and save this planet. But if we're at odds, we will do destruction.
Wow. Oh my gosh. I'm just like hanging on your every word right now. I'm not even paying attention to the comments. That was so beautiful. I can't wait to rewind that 100 times. I hope you guys do too. Let me just check in. Yes, looks like everyone wants you to come back. So hopefully, would you want to do this again sometime? Look at
Absolutely.
this.
Absolutely.
Awesome. I knew you guys. I knew it. This has answered so many questions. Just tuned in. Love is a life force. Yes. Oh my gosh. Amazing. Love this man. So true. Live in the moment. I love that. This is amazing. Okay. We better close out because we're coming up at almost 2 hours now. My longest live stream by far at this point, but this was incredible. Thank you so much. Make sure to grab your free energetic profile. It just takes a minute to fill out. It's the first link in the description. The next one is the energetic romance report. If you want to run a report with you and your partner, I did that. I found it just so accurate and so helpful and insightful. Just the tips you shared, invaluable, like relationship saving tips. It's just amazing. So yeah, thank you so much.
If you need help, email me directly, LarryM@the4answers.com. We will respond. We absolutely will.
So. Yes. Renola asks, where have you been hiding? You have so much positive energy. I love that. I knew you guys would love Larry. Let's definitely do this again soon. This was amazing, Larry. And thank you guys so much for 200 plus people sticking all the way to the end. Have a great weekend. And this was amazing, Larry. This was awesome. I'll talk with you soon.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Everyone.